뭐야? 다 가져서. 다 제대로 이 심순이 제대로 믿은 쇼방데 매당 아재 가장 토로 술래 원주 떡기니 준비 배신 배버차. 다디 매베도 아재람 땜베도 가베도 토레도 전에 다 디디 되네 무시 전시 풀려봐 되네 좀제 원주도 없어 다 리심 레군도 전에 는 걸스
So from stanza 32, we read the explanation of the actual From stanza 32, we read Shantidevas' presentation of the actual application of the forces that are conducive for arising of joyous effort. So he writes, uprooting its opposite in this way, one should strive to increase one's joyous effort with powers of aspiration, self-confidence, delight, letting go, dedication, and determination. So, this presents the 6 powers here. The 4 are more specific to the actual cultivation. So these are the power of aspiration, the power of confidence or stability, and the power of joy, and then the power of letting go or equanimity. And then the actual practice involved the application of the mindfulness and the faculty of mindfulness and introspective awareness. So this is called the power of actual dedication. So this refers to the application of the mindfulness and introspective awareness. And then the final power refers to the result that one attains as a result of applying these powers. And this refers to the power of mastery. So from stanza 34, when we read, where we read there, I do not see even a small fraction of a beginning of the elimination of faults and so on. Then the presentation of the cultivation of the power of aspiration is presented. And then from stanza 49, Shantideva presents the stages for cultivating and applying the power of confidence or stability. So we read in stanza 49, one should apply self-confidence to these 3 actions, secondary mental afflictions, and ability. I alone should do it, expresses self-confidence with regard to action. So this refers to cultivating a sense of pride. But this is not pride in the negative, afflicted sense of self-importance or conceitedness, but rather a pride in the sense of having a confidence in one's own ability that I can accomplish this, I can do this. So here in this stanza, Shantideva refers to the phrase, I alone should do it, expresses self-confidence with regard to action. So, for example, when we generate bodhicitta, the awakening mind, in the course of that, we also need to generate the altruistic resolve that takes upon oneself the responsibility to bring about others' welfare. So with that, that's the kind of sense of responsibility that Shantideva is talking about here. So then Shantideva explains the need to uphold the sense of pride in relation to one's afflictions. The first one was in relation to one's action. The second one is in relation to one's afflictions. And here, the primary kind of attitude that one needs to cultivate is that unlike in the past, when I allowed myself to be under the power of the afflictions, to be governed by these afflictions, from now on I shall ensure that I will control the afflictions, and I will govern, and I will dictate the course of these afflictions, and will not allow myself to be governed and dictated by these afflictions. So this is the kind of sense of pride one needs to cultivate in relation to the afflictions.
Pajeti shorogo ngumsu ngoguti kangshin ngaje dalai jenshi ngaje chang teni ngaje changda namgila patini kangshin ngaje dadu wanya tei chomde nge chomda kangshin ngaje dadu wanya nge chomde dole doshin gewen regu zobashi.
So, for example, we read in stanza 59, this is on page 85, by the way. We read, there are self-confident and victorious heroes who bear their self-confidence in order to conquer the enemy, pride. Upon killing that growing enemy, pride, they demonstrate the fruit of their victory to the world as they please.
Under Dishamdi, Saudwa, Trustamati, Numucho, you turn and Nabaton to sense of the water socket sanction, Numuso, Misusha. Nyamacheta, Junju, me, so that the Shinyama, Numo, Minju Charles. And it's done, set the second, Dagon, go, Jagan Lay. Number Kundu Numo, Betan, Micho.
So then we read in stanza 60, for example, abiding amidst a multitude of afflictions, one should be vigorous in 1,000 ways and unconquerable by the hosts of afflictions, like a lion by a herd of deer. And then he writes, even in great troubles, the eye does not perceive flavor. Likewise, upon encountering difficulty, one should not be overcome by mental afflictions. And then in stanza 62, by the way, this particular stanza is missing in the English translation because it is from Sanskrit. So in the Tibetan text, we read another stanza which says that even if I were to be killed by being burned alive, or even if my head is severed off, at no times shall I bow my head to the enemy, that is the afflictions.
Adi ngaje, asa, nyumo ngaje sada, nube ngaje sada, kaso neta tukuri nuguri samachiga nijmendo. Jata dine gawe top sadi, zemi denden debata di jawe lekani, letilan shen shadi, leti nyumum gawar chas. Shesogi, ta gashi toshin chukasi, di shamde, tete lesa chinjechi, nima chidu dungoyi, langjin chode sonjuda, Let lion Juba Charles. Just as in Yamlisha Didi, Ben Dichi, Rangshan, Gula Pentuachi, Duzane, they let the Gizod Driven Nigolia, Yidan Cheva, some of them, Gashin, Droshin, Tangan Lajos or Machavich, Gashin, Droshin, Tangulan, and Juyachi, Gayatam Sati.
And then from stanza 63 onwards in Tibetan, but 62 in the English translation, Shantidevas was explaining the practices of applying the power of joy. So he writes, one should diligently apply oneself to the action in which one engages. Intoxicated by that action, one should be of an insatiable mind, like one striving for the satisfaction of the result of a game. And then he goes on to write later in stanza 67, he says, 66, when he writes, and when one's strength begins to decline, one should quit so that one can re-engage later. Sorry, it's a 65 in the English translation. Therefore, even upon the completion of an action, one should immerse oneself in it again, just as an elephant scorched by the midday sun immediately approaches a lake.
That is what they tolerate of that. Tomyang Bada Gender, larger to tortures. Levels in the Chimon de Tepang Charles. Senataya, another letter over Nang in the Jason Jenny. You had the Lutin, the Yeshinjella, young for a chair. 심수 내내야 류비야 마트야지. 근데 이들자네 양양 수쳐버려야지. 수근 중간도 뛰는 저래. 이스트 숨겨래.
So,
수근 중간도 뛰는 양수자야 돼. 당신의 육사분의 체. 무튼이 약게 동약에 가서 그게 최신된 자 최신서를 미루를 샤네 리싱양수자 되이말에 대신도 레버스는 치마당스 다 약게 동약 된다래야 다 네그 양수죠 양양수 양수에서만 양 첫째 도스전이 가다 무튼이 약게를 해서 상당 거를 마도 척시체는 돼야지 말이지. 자, 니숭이야래. 치면 되게 대빵차스.
So in stanza 66, in the English translation, Shantideva explains the application of the power of equanimity or letting go. So he writes, and when one's strength begins to decline, one should quit so that one can re-engage later. When a task has been well completed, one should leave it with a desire for more and more. And the point being made here is that given our physical constitution as human beings, and particularly those on the beginner's stage, we need to recognize the limitations that our body imposes upon us. So as a result of constant application of joyous effort, if at some point one feels kind of exhausted or a lack of energy, then at that point, instead of kind of still pushing further or exerting, one needs to take a respite. However, that respite should not be taken simply to take a rest, but rather with a motivation to recharge oneself so that one can continue to pick up where one has left off and progress further. So this is the point Shantideva was making here. Therefore, he says that when a task has been well completed, one should leave it with a desire for more and more.
나한테는 무시 전시 돌려봤어야지. 텀니 다들 현실도 용어를 하고 싶. 묘모 천의 술자지 묘모 다는 잡았다. 잡았다. 뜻이야. 전이다 야지 배로 샤샤는 지 퇴섬 제가 개침물에 있었는 퇴섬 찍고는 뭉 야지 예배 거막 걸리나 지금 하양 셔리나 뒤집지게 말해 다야지 그게 다 검자로 찍고인데 개침물에 있었는데 타네 야 퇴섬 제가 하양 침배이나 야만 중에서 근데 이번 이두산에 나고 간다 술 땡기 막고 팔 다입니다. 직또 되는 일에 그들이야 현장에 예배 그때 되는 뭐 딱 곧하다네. 그게 아니 투마셔 쳐버렸어.
So then in stanza 67 in the English translation, Shantideva presents the actual application of mindfulness and introspective awareness, which constitutes the power of dedication. So he writes, one should ward off the blows of afflictions and severely attack them as if engaged in a sword combat with a trained enemy. So the point being made here is that one needs to apply both mindfulness and introspective awareness most diligently so that one's practices does not become one-sided. And for example, if someone with the recognition that the study of Dharma is very important and places all his or her single-pointed focus on the study, but at the same time neglects the arising of other negative mental thoughts and also potentially negative non-virtuous actions and so on, that is also one-sided. On the other hand, if someone with the recognition of the importance of actual meditation practice then single-pointedly pursues that and neglects the need to expand one's understanding through study, again, one opens oneself to other faults. So in this way, it is important to ensure that one's application of mindfulness and introspective awareness is constant so that one's approach to Dharma is really well-rounded.
로마르부식 소원은 나 투두서는 상공도, 나 섬두서는 퇴공도, 나 꿈두서는 퇴섬도, 나 가동 초처럼 멀고
Here, what the Kadamba master Dromtonpa has said is very true when he says that when I'm engaged in learning, I bring to bear upon it critical reflection and meditation practice. And when I'm engaged in critical reflection, I bring to bear upon it learning and meditation practice. And when I engage in meditation practice, I bring to bear upon it learning and critical reflection. Therefore, my approach to study critical reflection and meditation practice is integrated.
단전에 가서 왕교에 또 왕도차에 또 나디 딘다 두주통아 진의 레징어네 탐자는 투유 저들 바위 담전디 너니 당와양 차다 겨울 걸었어 요즘 내로도 전에 지도로는 저와도 원면 신배 왕교가 대신 저의 왕교대 대단한 조언이 주주스 저번에 저번에 수류도 마시고 뭐
So then, in the last two stanzas of the chapter, Shantideva explains the power of mastery, which is the fruit of the application of joyous effort, and he writes the following: bringing to mind the teaching on heedfulness, one should arouse oneself so that one is always prepared before encountering a task. Just as cotton is swayed in the direction of the winds coming and going, so should one surrender oneself to one's enthusiasm, and in this way, one's supernormal powers will thrive.
Oh yeah. That's the rule, because something new.
So with that, the reading of the chapter on joyous effort is completed, and next is the chapter on meditation or concentration.
대저 준주 때에는 이니 띵이즈는 샤. 선은 나버리 예매미 묘모 체외 창네. 셴네. 셴니 어디 들으셔. 가다 이니 띵이즈 거래. 띵이즈 뭐도나? 아니 가쇼리 보게. 다또 냐라 지지베 띵이즈 매나 대베 묘모 라고디디 수수부 사이하래. 에너 하고도야 띵인진기 템보스 매바이나 아니 상동기 다 시르기 돼야 용고 말이 되면은 아니 지도도가 상동 용도고 말이 되면은 아니 녀몬베 뻔히고 계속 말이 순진베 녀보 잠도 뻔히고 계속 말이 다들 숨비하래 드리인자네 띵인지 주고 그래.
So the chapter opens with the following stanza when Shantideva writes, upon developing joyous effort in this way, one should stabilize the mind in meditative concentration, since a person whose mind is distracted lives between the fangs of the afflictions. So in this opening stanza, Shantideva is explaining the necessity and the importance of having concentration or meditative concentration. And for example, without, when you lack concentration and meditative concentration, then many of the afflictions that are part of the mental state in the desire realm become much more prominent, dominant, and particularly if concentration or meditation is lacking in the person, then there will be no basis for the possibility of cultivating special insight, and particularly special insight on the supermundane level, where the insight is focused upon the realization of the ultimate nature of reality, and without such special insight focused on, directed to realization of ultimate nature of reality, then there is no possibility of cultivating within the powerful antidotes that would eliminate the afflictions. So therefore, those who wish to cultivate such an antidote, one needs to cultivate meditative concentration.
나야. 다디 참데 디페쇼. 꿈을 밟았으셔.
So at this point, we will read from Kamalashilas' text.
니소. 대다 구조 전주 있으면 깨네. 다음에 주소 깨배서 배워 차오.
So we read from page 78 of the English translation. And those who read the Tibetan text, it's on page 175. So we read from the text, after generating the conventional awakening mind of bodhicitta, endeavor to cultivate the ultimate awakening mind.
다 전전 전주 심 디다 거방 나디 초승 거래. 다음에 주시면 되니 이제는 다 잡아 타다도 차와. 다 소지 다들 지들 대화사디 소수교 살은 대배 파파리야. 지들 대배랑 지들 대화스. 전에다 코 편집을 내 소견디 소수교 저는 주로 처음으로 내가 mention이 레슨에 연구하리 대바톤을 하면 세트를 연습이 했잖아요. 대바무슨 동치제네 편집을 해서 매그리. 저기 네 이미지잖아요. 지금 대바스 소샤 또 저지 베지든지 성담으로 야 저지는다 대바무슨도 또 통이잖아요. 대찬에 다 가서 말한 저 소기 제가 답에 둔지수이 또해서 봐도 매댕이지 아니 남 아니 사나 럽지 탈선데 아니 똑같게 있잖아요. 돈이를 미게 사나를 탈 사나 럽다 선댕이 또미로 니나 누팅에 토민도잖아요. 다 소지사를 파. 다 그렇게 지는 데가 숨겨야 돼. 이미지잖아요. 변을 줄수 되니 지대는 대바스. 그래서 단 지대 소파 참 되는 샤시고 돈이 도마도 돈에. 다 저바 탐쳐서 자와스. 다한테 손을 쓰잖아요. 돈이 떠고 짬마이 봐. 돈이 무슨 도 되는 걸로. 딱 근데 장주 있으면 지금 돈을 주셨으면 좋아. 아다 대체 지대는 대바스. 저바 타다도 자와 세대한테 각서 저배다 타탐셔도 자와서요. 야. 지금 놀 때는 아니 타니다 차다다 땅다. 니사. 근데 자주 오면은 딱 하다 급디 저바 타서 저서잖아요. 지금 된주부 저바다 가봐요. 다가는 신기 그 최신의 저바에 가루야래. 저바 타다녀 시와 순산에 다 각자 각성 그 동리 대장장 따라려 샤자지 디셔도 전에 네 동번 이도 삼으로 되는 집에 매버리 샤바시 되나야 집부심은 따와면 제 송샤디 집부 송대야디 대고정도 봐 동리 장체도 나한테는 네 동번 이도 삼으로 돼 연구를 보다 다 안다 대 돈이 것도 다 돈이 질 돈이 또 아닌데 전에 가서 가서 내가 내도 마도 텔레 셴베 내 동번이 누구였어? 동번이 도구유 삼에서로 내 동이 미규 삼에서로 네 동번이 인삼으로 동이 여 삼에서로 진짜 편해야 가서 가서 내가 마도 가게 매. 그래서 텔레 셴도 네 동번이 도 삼에서로 지니나 장체를 수도 샤다. 근데 주모이나 아니 내가 말해 됐습니다. 세상아 최신 답하다 그 니나 그 잡아도 최신 그 잡아도 군소 그 잡아도 제가 선실로 녀를 지워왔어. 다 신도 싸웠잖아요. 다 전염 주지를 다 그게 제탈을 니대하게 동반이 돼야 니나 누수 또 누서는 신도 싸워. 된다면 저도가 유턴도 벌을 미팅해. 된적을 로디 깨왜 내가라 로디 몰라 치멜라가 매대봐. 좀 매봐. 아니 신내가 더더 제대 로신 주잖아요. 미국 춘이래 신도 요매봐. 롱매가 말매 균좀 미워.
So we read in Kamalashilas' text, after having first explained the need to cultivate ultimate awakening mind, then he actually defines what ultimate awakening mind is. So the text reads, the ultimate awakening mind is transcendent, it is free from all elaborations, it is extremely clear, and the object of ultimate, stainless, unwavering, like a butter lamp undisturbed by the wind. So these characteristics describe what ultimate awakening mind is. So the reference to a transcendent here is to indicate that ultimate awakening mind, ultimate bodhicitta, is really a direct realization of, involves a direct realization of emptiness, complemented by bodhicitta, the awakening mind. And so generally, when we speak about a transcendent or supramundane level of the path and mundane level of the path, the demarcation between the mundane levels and the transcendent levels is whether or not one has gained direct realization of the truth, particularly of emptiness. And so up until one attains the path of seeing, all the realizations of the truth will be more through the medium of concept and thought. So that's, and at the point of direct path of seeing, there's a direct realization of emptiness and a direct realization of the truth. So it is on this basis, a distinction is drawn between those on the noble path, path of the Aryas, the superior beings, and those of the ordinary beings. So the transcendence here refers to this non-conceptual direct realization of the truth. And another distinction is also up until the attainment of the path of seeing, there is always the potential for the creation of new karma, karmic action. And at the point when one gains direct realization of the truth, then any potency of creating new karma has been eliminated. So there is no potential for creating a projecting karma, a karma that would project a rebirth in a cyclic existence. So it is on that basis a distinction is drawn between ordinary beings, sentient beings, and Arya, noble beings. So the transcendence here refers to the ultimate awakening mind as being direct realization of emptiness that is non-conceptual and complemented with bodhicitta, awakening mind. And then the second characteristic it says is that it is free from all conceptual elaborations. So the direct realization of emptiness is devoid of any form of conceptual elaborations, and particularly the elaborations of any of the extremes of absolutism or nihilism. And also there is no duality of the subject upon which emptiness is realized. So it is a totally non-conceptual, non-dual experience of emptiness. And then it talks about the ultimate awakening mind as being extremely clear. And this again refers to its quality of being totally non-conceptual state, where the realization of emptiness takes the form of a direct experience, a kind of a luminous direct experience. And so when we talk about being free from all conceptual elaborations, it also implies being free of any form of grasping. So, for example, when one is meditating upon emptiness, and at that point, if even a kind of a lingering thought arises that this is emptiness, that is also a form of grasping. So if one even have the thought, yes, emptiness exists, that is also a form of elaboration. So, for example, in the Sakya teachings on the parting from the four clingings, and there is a line which says that if there is grasping, it is not a view. So this is the meaning of that line in the Sakya teachings from the parting from the four clingings. So when the actual realization of emptiness takes place, the actual content of that experience is total absence, negation of any form of conceptual elaborations, any form of grasping. So, and it doesn't involve any affirmation of either the existence of emptiness or either the kind of self-consciousness of this being empty and so on. So, so this is what is meant by being free of all conceptual elaborations. So then it is extremely clear, which also refers to the quality of the presence of shamatha in that experience, the tranquil abiding. And then it says that it is the object of the ultimate awareness, and it is stainless, unwavering, like a butter lamp, undisturbed by the wind.
Again, I forget about question and answer.
The first question, is nirvana a physical place or a state of being after death?
Nirvana se tadi musha da mudigo shungna lale tarban de gen yong yare ya rikji gi shingam so tsiachi da sanje be shungne nirvana sunzane peji nyangye sari nyangye kiji nyumol shani di nyumol che negabdela nyangde saro da telaya 아다 그신의 그다 아다 자시로 치 라더니 뭐 세베타 라더니 뭐 저다르는 저 동번 니투 각번 좀 쓰네 고아들래 봐이나 다 그것이 신이체 디 텔레 다 가서 그게 다 가라 컨텐츠 있어야 돼 직머리 이거 전에 대권한이 직는 양대 대권한이 직는 것도 좋네 아니 탈시면 내가 그러냐한테 대권한이 몽네 치료도 떠나 고아 자다 과에 취디디 대권한이로 몽배wan 게 용도 변주잖아요 대권한이로 몽바 시한디 대권한이 된 뭔도 교리잖아요 대권한이 된 시행이잖아요 대권한이로 몽보된 가루 자 대권한이로 몽보된 가서디 생그런 신남다가 인수 가루도 그래서 리리잖아요 춘이 가서 냥대 사서 어떤 조주스 상담이나 심취의 상담에 임벌이 다들이 자신의 냥대스도 심취 연대 대모를 파바바 자같이 보이나 심취의 정신남다 시대하디 냥대를 정신남다 아니 정신냥대 세송도 정신냥대 사제냥대 사매냥대 면대배냥대세 버진은 냥대 먹고 삼주 지나다들이 영자로 답은 양대 시체니 수도 속이야래 다들 이미 이르잖아요 또 조선 취성답다.
So in fact the notion of liberation or nirvana is found also in non-Buddhist classical Indian traditions where the term moksha, freedom, is used. In some non-Buddhist classical Indian tradition sometimes this liberation, this freedom, is also envisioned in the form of kind of, getting to a physical plane, kind of a realm of existence. However, in the Buddhist context, the understanding of nirvana is quite different. There is a stanza in Nagarjuna's text, Fundamental Wisdom of the Middle Way, which presents the Buddha's understanding of nirvana, where he says that it is through the cessation of karma and afflictions, that one gains freedom. And karma and afflictions arises from conceptual elaborations, and the karma and afflictions arises from conceptualization, and the conceptualization arises from elaborations, and how the elaborations are calmed or pacified by means of emptiness. So this presents, or one can read the final line as elaborations are pacified within emptiness. So what this presents is that in Buddhism, the understanding of nirvana has to be in terms of a state of mind or a quality of mind. And furthermore, if we try to understand this at a more deeper level, then we are talking about an ultimate nature of mind itself, because it is in relation to the nature of mind we either become caught in samsaric unenlightened existence or gain enlightenment. So it is in relation to the nature of mind itself which defines samsara and nirvana. So the ignorance with respect to the nature of mind involves samsara, and insight into the nature of mind leads to freedom or liberation or nirvana. So in the final analysis, it is nirvana must be understood on the basis of the ultimate nature of mind, which is in Buddhism characterized as a naturally abiding nirvana, and it's a naturally pure nature. And so therefore, for example, in the text, we find mentions of 4 types of nirvana. A natural nirvana, which refers to the natural purity of the mind, and then you have nirvana with residue, and then nirvana without residue, and the non-abiding nirvana of the Buddhas. So in brief, in the Buddhist context, when we speak about nirvana, we have to understand it as a state of mind, a quality of mind, and furthermore, the ultimate nature of mind, which is cleansed of all the afflictions. Have you yet chosen the next Dalai Lama? No pressure. And no pressure. Pressure to mess. Just curious.
Of course, as far as Dalai Lama, I think Dalai Lama institution is concerned, as early as 1969, one of my formal statement I made clear, the very institution of Dalai Lama should continue or not up to Tibetan people. So, if at this sort of situation, the majority of Tibetan people or concerned people feel Dalai Lama institution is now no longer much relevant, then this institution will cease. So sometimes I jokingly telling or expressing I think now last a few hundred centuries old, this institution ceased at the time of 14th Dalai Lama. It's nice because this 14th Dalai Lama, not one of the best Dalai Lama, but also not worst Dalai Lama. So Dalai Lama institution, century-old institution, ceased with dignified way. Dignity. Yeah, good then. However, in case I think present sort of circumstances, and also I think sometime in future, I think Dalai Lama institution, most Tibetan people, and also concerned other people, I think may prefer remain is in this institution. Then the question, how choose the successor? So, I think more than 20 years, I express, in case the Dalai Lama institution should continue, then again, there are different options about the succession. One, popes, or the selection. That kind of thing also is possible. Then, another thing, something like appointment. That also possible. Then, the traditional way, finding reincarnation. After one person passed away, then search another boy, whether truly same person or not, same sentient being or not. Find out one suitable person, a suitable boy, or some cases suitable girl, like that. So that's the traditional way. Then another traditional way is, before previous Lama die, he or she already choose one one
successor,
boy or girl, and designated as his or her reincarnation. That's also possible. So in any way, sometimes you see people quite seriously asking these things. Even some government also is showing concern. So I usually answer, no hurry. So since it's my so it seems, I think now, although over now 73 years old, but still seems quite fit. So no hurry.
What is
I think, but now on, I think fact is, exile community, we already, since 2001, we already have elected political leadership. So temporal matter, they carry every 5 years election. So I have no worry. Since then, my position is already retired, semi-retired position. Then, for spiritual matter, they're all different Tibetan traditions. Saitya, Nyingma, Goju, Kilu, Chonang, and all tradition, including Pernbo. Now younger generation, the age between 20, around 20, young, bright, sort of generation who have the ability or qualification to carry responsibility for spirituality. Now, quite healthy sort of generation now coming. So, at least next 100 or more, I do not have sort of concern, no problem. Even if this situation remain, no problem. But then after a few hundred years, then nobody knows. Your nation, America also, after a few hundred years, nobody knows what will happen. Yes.
What is the smallest body to be the basis of a sentient being?
Or as far as I think, a sentient being with sort of grosser level of physical. Of course, from Buddhist viewpoint, there are formless sentient beings also there. But the smallest sort of sentient being, at least on this planet, many years ago, when Francisco Varela, there is one sort of conclusion after our discussion. I think the demarcation, sentient being and non-sentient being, is a thing which can move by itself from one place to another place. So that's the demarcation of the sentient being or non-sentient being. So according to that, the smallest sentient being is amoeba, the smallest sort of sentient being. So further research may change that concept, but so far that's our conclusion. Next question.
Although Buddhism does not believe in a creator God, does Buddhism believe in a kind of force of universal good? Universal goodness.
Good.
Now, Sangcho, the Tartu Bridge.
Sangpurushe.
Now.
What do you mean? I don't know. Oh. Because one way, universal good.
Now, universal force of universal goodness, universal goodness.
Force.
Now, Sangcho Tartu Bridge, never Vigilia.
I don't know. Of course, the Tongpo Tinjung Tongpo Silizane, Tony Dada Rokia and University Sungyare. Contact Chatamjalo, Tishinile, that Tishin Junction to Yavizane, Tishini, number Tishini Gaba. In the Jaya.
Since in Buddhism there is the explanation of the ultimate nature of reality in terms of the relationship between dependent origination and emptiness, and there is an understanding that all the phenomena in existence are in some sense manifestations of this or expressions of this ultimate nature, which is emptiness.
나요. 가서 그래서 럽도 좋아. 뉴먼 현지게 왜세스. 다또 안다 콘텐츠 심 거버려서. 다 심도 봐봐 데이터베이나 뉴먼 현지게 왜세. 다데 콘텐츠 끊어 켜봤으면도 콘텐츠 탐제 뒤다 거봐. 뒤 하나 얘기를 봐. 주민단들도 이주 잡아 이주 가봐. 다들 이디 너가 투모도 집에 이 상담이 그때 당가 투모이 라면 투모이 샤베이나 이모도 집에 와서 잡아 와서 가봐. 정신 샤베이네 대간을 내는 거래. 차제시 무슨이 대간을 내는 거래. 사도 수주 건데 예매가 다 수준이 전에 대간을 내는 거래. 그래서 들이 이르잖아요. 아다 이모도 집에 와서 때 건데 탐지 철시 건데 탐지 시 실리 신앙 샤테야. 사운드를 쳐가 차샤네. 팀블롱주 중얼룩도 신. 다 탁두기 된 양대 손이잖아요. 팀블롱중이 샤. 아니 중얼룩도 되야면도 와. 아니 용어를 집에 가서 커랭하다 땡도 내야지. 저상가 면내변이 안 돼서 용어를 집에 가서 다가가는 싸움당도 와. 구시슬로 뒤가는 샤이고. 용어를 집에 와서 거라 이시주로 신 용어를 집에 와서 춘이디 뭐니 그렇지 그래 안돼 용어를 집에 와서 거래래 뭐니 민다 텐시 집에 꽝 뭐니 고스 두제 뭐니 고스 민다요 데이터 뭐 집에 있는 게 에너지 룽 에너지 스타트기 수차, 숨차. 그래서 디시에 구성 톡숨스도 용을 하지지 왜세 당 대다 모이엘매베 아니 샹베룸 디니부티 아니 구성 톡숨 샤트지 지산 양대 터두셔야되잖아요. 용을 하지지 왜세 다게 다 가소래 다 왜세 다게 랑다 싹샤도 다 마다고 쳐지지 왜세 텔레 샤르데베 중 룩도기 짐베 아니 신내야 락베롱스 체 대를 봐셔야 되지 타르도 용도 용도 집에서 거래 랑다르도 이샤도 좀 시설었다 그 싫어 뒤체지 나뒤 체를 했으나 빠바버서 제법버서 그래 시신도.
So, and especially if we bring in the perspective of Vajrayana, highest yoga tantra, we already discussed to some extent how many of the grosser levels of consciousness can be ultimately kind of reduced to ever more subtle levels of consciousness. We spoke about that through the waking state, dream state, deep sleep states, and so on, how ultimately they all can be traced to the fundamental innate mind of clear light. So in this sense, in the Vajrayana, there is a notion that the entire world of both samsaric existence and also nirvanic freedom are manifestations or expressions of this fundamental innate mind of clear light. And in fact, from the highest yoga tantric point of view, in fact, nirvana must also be understood in terms of the fundamental innate mind of clear light, where when the fundamental innate mind of clear light, the non-abiding nirvana of the Buddhas has to be understood in terms of the fundamental innate mind of clear light. And this is when the process is, when you experience, when the fundamental innate mind of clear light dawns, there is a process of dissolution ever becoming progressively subtler, finally culminating in the experience of clear light. And for ordinary beings in the cyclic existence, then from this subtle level of innate mind of clear light, then the grosser levels of the mind arises in a kind of a reversal sequence. So what marks an individual's attainment of non-abiding nirvana is when the individual arrives at a point of the fundamental innate mind of clear light, and no longer there is this reversal process of evolving into a more grosser forms of existence, with afflictions and so on. And also in the Vajrayana understanding, the Buddhas, arising of the Buddha's four kayas, are also the Buddha's four embodiments, are also understood in terms of the fundamental innate mind of clear light. The fundamental innate mind of clear light itself is the wisdom body of the Buddha, and its ultimate nature of that becomes the natural body of the Buddha, and then the subtle energy that accompanies with it from which arises the speech of the Buddha, and also it is the Buddha body of perfect enjoyment or resource, or the form body arises from this. So in the Vajrayana context, even the nature of the four Buddha bodies are understood in terms of the fundamental innate mind of clear light. So in this sense, there is a kind of a notion in the Vajrayana tradition where the fundamental innate mind of clear light serves as the basis for the arising of the entire phenomenal world. Now the question, and this is a perspective that is found in the highest yoga tantra, and so this is also the similar perspective found in the Dzogchen teachings of great perfection, and also the Mahamudra great seal teachings. So this perspective is shared in all of these lineages. And however, as to the question of whether in the Buddhist tradition this fundamental clear light mind can be seen as a creator, in a kind of an agent, then it's a different question. But it is seen as a basis from which everything arises.
그나도 콘데이면 순두자네 그시규규 디 코레 최탐제 선익 수두상 람디 최탐제 연댕수도 참. 데뷔쇼 탐제 뉴디도 참, 뉴베스도 참. So 컨테이면 something.
So, for example, in the perspective of the indivisibility or indivisibility of inseparability of samsara and nirvana view of Sakya tradition, one understands what is called the causal continuum of the foundational consciousness, and within this foundational consciousness, all the phenomena of the samsaric world are present in the form of various characteristics of that mind, and all the qualities of the path are presented in the form of attributes of that mind, and all the qualities of the Buddha are present in that mind in the form of potentials. So in this way, the Sakya tradition explains this. And to use Dzogchen terminology, so to use Dzogchen great perfection terminology, the fundamental innate mind of clear light is referred to as the primordial Buddha, and primordially enlightened. And on the basis of that, one needs to cultivate the path and then gain actual enlightenment. And at that point, one is referred to as someone who has become re-enlightened, reawakened. So, although we are primordially enlightened, we tend, we have to exist in a state of confusion. Why is it so easy to show compassion to animals, but much harder to have compassion for humans?
I think animals
well, the animals are not much of a source of threat.
I think within animal, I think like rabbit or cat, there's not much of danger, and dog. And tiger, lion, what do you feel? Similar compassion? I don't think. So I think we, so long the thing, no danger to us, then easier to
have compassion,
to show affection. Like that. So then human being, which Kadam Kong's Sungju Libanasi, me sheshi me sumre. These are Dimidus Lovsity, the Minaza lower was this water, me sheshi me, and Chichil Katan said, the Kuchini's water.
This reminds me of a saying of the Kadampa masters, early Kadampa masters. They say that the subject of human beings.
Music the current me cutting to what you was and shoot. Oh, they care about me, she, Miri, so that they cut them. And Dinang Zene, me, she, most of Julia, Yachan Yashi, mother, much of a million shacks him. Then she didn't come Shantisha, Soja song as a shask him. That was the only thing on as we had a t-shirt. That midi schedule. Dinah, much of it. Oh, yes, someone, much of the schedule, much of the shask him.
So this was actually once a person approached a Kadampa master and informed the Kadampa master that there were people who were speaking badly about him. And the Kadampa master told this person, don't worry, the topic of human accusation and criticism, human criticism and complaints will always have to be human beings. And therefore, it is natural that human beings will complain about other human beings. And in fact, if you think about it, not only is that human beings that we talk about and criticize and complain, but also it tends to be generally people that we know or we have some relationship with. For example, we're not going to complain and talk about sentient beings existing in a outer space. We're going to talk about human beings on this earth, and even within that group, we are mostly going to complain about or criticize or talk about someone who we have some connection with, someone that we know. Your Holiness, I have a question about being wise selfish. If motivational intent, motivation creates karma, if intention creates karma, does not this attitude of rejoicing in others' anger towards you create negative karma? Should it not create compassion for them, not joy for yourself?
되게 진주스나들. 가르쳐서.
간다 게데 굴롱 기토네 아니 레사기요나스.
알아.
아니 셴기 수 룽제블이야. 디랜리야 가옹검나스. 아니 디
가옹검도 랑글 레송서.
나레 가옹검베나 아니 랭엠바사기요 마르베스. 디 가옹검에 sable야 닝지검에 야가요 마르베스. 수수 가옹검을래.
알레 디젠트 말한다. 가옥공다 파르베 네바체베 네베 자와디 야보를 쓰면 가옥공해 봐. 파르베 나는 네바체베 되게 나는 세베냐면 자 고급 중수스 가옥공해.
So maybe there is a slight element of confusion here. The point about cultivating joy is not directly related to the other person's inflicting of harm upon us and thinking that this is the right thing to do, but rather it is more indirect. So because the other person has inflicted the harm upon you, this has created a condition, provided a condition for you to further develop and enhance your practice of forbearance, and it is in that context that you cultivate a sense of rejoicing or joy. So of course, towards the actor, towards the agent who is perpetrating the harm, causing the harm, then one needs to cultivate compassion. Do we, Your Holiness, do we ever experience anything that we did not create a karmic cause for? Legi, kanda legi ene sabe, gyuchebe, gengi chungwa maimbe, nyamnyong misete de, chita nyamnyong yorbes, nyamnyong tsangma.
tip하지 말로 생기. 정실 생기베, 변은 소화 당뇨 먹고지, 정실 생기베라는 쓰고 잖아요.
I think there are. For example, many of the natural states of our experience, such as more neutral sensations and neutral feelings, and this is kind of natural, innate.
아주 풍부주 이야기. 디 나라 직치비 그 춘이랑 그다지 매도 생각 그거 자랑 건 레벨을 하지. 저는 가서 계시면 가서 매도 소소소 레벨이더디. 매는 나라 이미 미신다. 그거 자랑 레벨을 돼야지. 그래서 춘이기를 보셔야 되다. 아니 자식을 보셔야 돼야지. 아니 되베를 보디에. 그래 춘이기를 보다. 자소스 레벨을 매다 해도디. 그거 춘이기를 봐. 딜래가 말아. 지상 가라서 풍부 그 자야는 주제들이 있잖아요. 코르코르 자야 내버지 된대요. 디나는 직직 라든 저여도. 직직 라든 저 매도시 매도선.
So for example, if we take our own physical body, within the physical body there will be, there are many different elements, and at the level of these elements there are a lot of causal processes, and so my own feeling is that there must be a level of these processes which probably has nothing to do with karma, which is simply kind of a consequence of the natural processes we spoke about yesterday with respect to flower and the mechanisms that must exist in flower for sustenance and its survival. Similarly, in our own body, our body is composed of material substances, material elements, and these material elements, they have their own laws of nature. And so yesterday we spoke about how one need to take into account the principle of nature, the principle of function based upon that, and principle of dependence. So the fact that there is a dependent relationship, the fact that certain elements have a certain functions and so on, and then the fact that these elements possess certain characteristics in nature, these are very much part of the reality. And so I feel that when it comes to our own experiences, which are contingent upon our body, and given that within our body there are processes, some of which have nothing to do with karma, and some which have relevance to our karmic processes.
담아직 가샤를 쳐다니 담아직 간물을 쳐다지 레차 이미시다. 되는 시간 주변은 베네페르샤는 예배 미국 가셔 독스타디 미국 가셔 가파교아티샤 디지털 라인에 말입니다.
So, for example, if we take this flower and some of the petals of the flower may be pointing to the eastern direction, some to the western direction, and I don't think that is a function of karma. And similarly, my own eyebrows, some strands of the hair seems to be pointing upwards, some seems to be pointing sideways. I don't think that has anything to do with the karma. So these are really kind of functions of immediate circumstances and conditions.
Yeah. That's the
So we will now read from the text.
That did you Jidan and Deva that you should enjoy Shine Shichakuyari. The day into Zane and the Gondig Lungchang Nanche Yendu Chanju Samba, Jishibe, Geweshu Jideba Jidin Deva Tamje, Shineta Langdong Mursam. That Shineta Langdong Migitembe, and the Janjo Gomni doing what was chose.
Then Kamalashilas explains that such ultimate awakening mind, in order for that to realize or attain, one must have as its basis both the tranquil abiding and especially inside vipassana. So we read, and then here, this is on page 81 of the English translation. He cites from Shantidevas Sutra, unraveling the intent of the Buddha, where he says that this is achieved through constant and respectful familiarity with the yoga of tranquil abiding meditation and special insight over a long period of time. And the Shantidevas Sutra says, O Maitreya, you must know that all the virtues, dharma of disciples, Bodhisattvas and Tathagatas, whether worldly or transcendental, are the fruits of tranquil abiding, meditation, and special insight.
That is what the Shinazam Boshi Combat Sheve, Ninajavan of the Tibam Mibungis, Rishinimo number never some to 7 days. That Shirog, what are it? That is someday Papa things given to Lunchani, things to combat some gay, Numo Ponto Mare Karesdana, Ting Yomogasawa, Datun Tushio, Datun somebody, Lenyabuching Mares. The day into Sane, Datun somebody never hindered, Numo, Chadang Numo, Kimri, Sene. Tawana Tami, Kasaju, Datun somebody pointed the Karesdana, Dame was so dogway, Shirti, Conaris, Te. And Dengzin, Guinea Buchan, Dengzin Pampa, the Toyonguri. tele shenbe energy gelo ben changju samdago ben namjin tuwe tu so cha de ari de ni dangjin shitok marbe setok marbe sana dangjin seya ge ko chwa cha ro ko gen cha da shujik da yungure de ine ngöji ni mu chimare so de sonda.
So then we read in page 82, Kamalashilas writes, yogis cannot eliminate mental obscurations merely by familiarizing themselves with tranquil abiding meditation. And then later, on page 83, Kamalashilas cites from, must be from Samadhiraja Sutra, King of Meditation Sutra. There's an error in the translation here. This should be from the King of Meditation Sutra, where Kamalashilas cites from the sutra the following lines. Even if you meditate with single-pointed concentration, you will not destroy the misconception of the self, and your afflictions will disturb you again. And this is like the Udrag's single-pointed meditation. So he's explaining that without explaining that the meditation on tranquil abiding, shamatha alone, will not lead to the elimination of the afflictions, because it does not negate or it does not eliminate the grasping at self, the conception of self. And then the question is, what kind of a path would bring about the elimination of the afflictions and the eradication of grasping at self? Then he cites, when the selflessness of phenomena is examined specifically, and meditations are performed on the basis of that analysis, that is the cause of the resultant liberation. No other cause can bring peace. So the final line refers to the point that although the other elements, aspects of the path, very important aspects of the path, such as awakening mind, bodhicitta, are very important factors for the attainment of Buddhahood. But however, factors like bodhicitta are only necessary complements, and they cannot directly eliminate and counter grasping at self. So the only path that can directly counter the grasping at self and eliminate them is the wisdom of no self. So therefore, the sutra says that no other cause can bring nirvanic peace.
Yeah. That didn't disham de toa. That shilani would be soon to take race, Drishon. That tell a Thomas Rishi, Nanjoba can't get there. You do, she net a hundred ruben you, she net a hundred solar chet them of chaos. That she net a hundred said the assembly and then shadiare, Jewish shadiare. They ran and get to sort then they are. The name is Zane, got a tomb to tomb, maybe to sort it to boys. That you look at us, Lona. Near Thomas Snitch talk connection to be in a never double chon or so. That leader man soon, Dean Morty, my savage and merson to her.
And then, having explained the need for union of tranquil abiding, shamatha, and special insight vipassana as a path to attain liberation, then Kamalashilas goes on to explain the specific conditions that one must seek, the prerequisite that must seek in order to cultivate a tranquil abiding and special insight, because tranquil abiding and special insights are qualities of a developed mind, and these being qualities of developed mind which can only be attained as a resultant state, one needs to cultivate the causes and conditions that would lead to them. So here he writes, for example, on page 94 of the English translation, he says that initially the yogi should seek the prerequisites that can assist him in actualizing tranquil abiding meditation and special insight quickly and easily. And then he goes on to explain first the prerequisites for the cultivation of tranquil abiding, when he writes the prerequisites necessary for the development of tranquil abiding meditation are to live in a conducive environment, to limit your desires and practice contentment, not being involved in too many activities, maintaining pure moral ethics, and so on. So these are very explicitly listed and explained. And then on page 96, he explains the particular specific prerequisites that are necessary to be cultivated as a basis for arising of special insight. So this is on page 96, where he says that what are the prerequisites of special insight? They are relying on holy persons, seriously seeking extensive instruction, and proper contemplation. So he identifies three main prerequisites for special insight, and these are again explained in greater detail in the text itself. So then, for example, on page 97, he says, what is meant by proper contemplation? So this is the last paragraph. It is properly establishing the definitive and interpretable meanings of the sutras. So it emphasizes the importance of understanding what are the definitive meanings of the sutras and what are the more provisional meanings of the scriptures. So this will come later on. And then on page 100, Kamalashilas writes, yogis should at all times avoid fish, meat, and so forth, and should eat with moderation and avoid foods that are not conducive to health. So ideally, for someone dedicated to cultivating special insight, the recommendation here is to being vegetarian. So the reference here to eating with moderation, particularly for monastic, if you relate it to the monastic vows, the precept of not eating after lunch is an excellent one. Then Kamalashilas explains the actual meditation practice by dividing the forms of practices that needs to be adopted during the formal sitting sessions and during post-meditation sessions. And then in the formal sitting session, he explains the procedure, which would begin with, say, for example, taking refuge in the three jewels and so on. So these are explained in 102, page 102.
Then yalang cha chenes, da yalang ande cha set cheni. Then sanya de cheju simbe kusu rumolo so ndu shagam. Shendo ya rumde is da 지금 소소 여러체 양진 지대 쇼제가 상마다 만들어 전에 오늘 지금 다 추를 좀 지금 더네 무슨 소리들이 연애 야고래 다 인지 민지 검냠는 제발가 무슨 소리 요거야 그야 말 지금 mel었다고 내저기 온출이 별 강정을 좀 거나 자네게 두배 견전증에 담배 쑥장을 차되게 하래 이네 코 근데 무슨 소리 시작하게 또 얘네 근데 가게 매버체체 조조 다 두 냠신나니 다 용되게 알아. 시작해서 말이야. 샹도야 론데스. 대자라 진유지 쳐봐도 때바차라 sen yana döngü mü tutan sungu yare. Kası cüzünden tümünü için yana döngü mü tutan. Dene den devala samdengi den gebjungse tos. Da dişili ya. Yani namna güçü, dünüm çü. Yani ongzungun nembe namna güçü ge. Da digidi 게다 돌로 수도 좀 붙이니 이제 공부시킨 거래. 스테송다.
So then the text explains that one should make prostrations to the image, the object of refuge, with all the 5 parts of the body touching the ground. And then on page 105, Kamalashila talks about the need to have a representation of the Buddha or image. He says that he should place an image of the Buddha and Bodhisattvas, such as a painting in front of him or in some other place. He should make as many offerings and praises as he can, and so on. So here, of course, if you can acquire and obtain an image, a representation of the Buddha without any much difficulty, then it's wonderful. But you do not, if you cannot afford it, it's not necessary. It is not indispensable for actual meditation to have an image of the Buddha in front of you. For example, if you look at the story, the life of Milarepa, who was one of the greatest, who was actually the epitome of Tibetan meditator, and also someone who can be seen as a crown jewel among the hermits and meditators in Tibet. Milarepa had no image in his meditation cave, yet he was a great meditator. So one should not make unnecessary efforts and to try to obtain one. What matters is the actual practice. So anyway, if you have the image, and then in front of the image, and then the text says you should make an offering, many offerings and praises as you can. You should confess your misdeeds and rejoice in the merits of other beings. So in other words, in the presence of this image, one should then engage in the practice of the 7 limbs, as explained before. We talked about the 7 limbs earlier, which was presented in Shantidevas' text. And then the text goes on to state the need to adopt a physical posture that is appropriate to the formal sitting meditation. And it talks about the 7-fold posture of Vairochana. And if we include the breathing on this, it will be an 8-fold posture of Vairochana, which refers to the posture of one's legs, the position of one's legs, and so on.
다 신의 ስለ잖아요. 그것을 미고 대갈 마도버지 르 가서 유산이야 초 신의 아니 다른 신기 미국을 내가 그들이 지금 친구들 된적이 꽤 신의 더 친구 견다 차워 미국을 산이다 내버려야 되지를 신에서 그래서 야나 즉 띵인지 제시고 다 된지티 아니 두두산에 지금 안 들어려야 지금 대형 강을 있는 로또 상단에서네 로티가 내 차로 지도와 된디가 전조 거리네 그렇지 내야 데리고 띵인지 그걸 차로 지도와 어떻게 실을 여대버디 약제된 게 요래 다 믹스가 아니 다 될래야 믹스의 유지고 위에 있잖아요. 다 건들 신에게 믹벌이야. 아니 미군 잡아도 소리. 다 진짜가 남주고 미고다. 가사이니 지 용어 남주고 미고서 알아. 되게다. 캐베 미고서 알아. 되게 미고. 다 뮤직 거네. 아니 캐베 미고스. 다 자고도 조금 다 조디니가 소용 거야. 아니 거봐 용주. 되게다. 송도와 자, 다한테 도준님고 지 신의 주변 미고다 신의다 방송해야 돼. 미배 전에 캐식 나발에 동일을 미고 신의 예발에 진입을 미고 방송 예발에 자, 이런 의미에서 미배 미지 다 신랑이스도 저는 믹장을 캐지 신의 세야 돼. 미주 这些都叫的，汤东是对，这些都叫我怎么样？我界定的去，汤通是啥呢？过来引路拉过来通，引路了说到个关呢，对引路拉过来通。但引路的几年引路，用过的几年引路，但引路是在家教员那么呢，大家当我们那时过来几年对路就打，记得个第些年对路就特多对路就些有过了吧？但是另一站呢，过来在那走了，那个到杭州，那几年个那个杭州要的，记得我那个杭州要的，这个送多啊，这些。
So then we read on page 107, Kamalashila writes, a tranquil abiding meditation should be achieved first. A tranquil abiding is that mind which has overcome distractions to external objects and which spontaneously and continuously turns towards the object of meditation with bliss and pliancy. So when we speak about tranquil abiding or shamatha, we are talking about a state of mind where all the distractions have been calmed. So literally, the Tibetan term for tranquil abiding is shine. So the first refers to a tranquility, and second refers to a stability or abiding. So the tranquility here refers to the calming of all forms of distractions, and so that one is able to maintain one's focus on the chosen object with single-pointedness and also with a settledness. And the abiding refers to this quality of stability and endurance. So what is happening here is that actually the natural quality of being able to maintain one's focus on the chosen object is something that we all possess. So we, for example, whether we are using analysis or whether we are simply attending to something, we have a natural quality of our mind which enables us to maintain our attention on the chosen object, at least for a while. And what is happening in the shamatha meditation, tranquil abiding meditation, is to trying to develop that faculty, develop that quality so that it evolves into a much more developed form, so that we are able to deliberately maintain our focus on the chosen object of meditation for a prolonged period of time without distraction. And in contrast, special insight refers to a state of mind where one applies a certain element of discursiveness, probing into the nature of reality. So between these two forms of meditation, tranquil abiding and special insight, they are not distinguished on the basis of differences in their objects and their of objects of their focus, but rather the differences, they are differentiated on the basis on how the particular mental state engages with the object. In the tranquil abiding, the engagement takes the form of a single-pointed focus and abiding on that object, chosen object, whereas in the special insight, the engagement takes the form of an application of an analysis, particularly pertaining to the deeper nature of that reality. So it is the way in which one engages with the object differentiates between these two forms of meditation. Now, so in order to cultivate shamatha and also special insight, the meditator needs to choose an object. And with respect to the object of meditation, in the scriptures, there are many different types of objects listed. For example, specific objects that may be appropriate to individuals and depending upon their own emotional temperament. And also, there are objects that are more specific and relevant to the purification of one's afflictions, different forms of afflictions. And also, there is a type of object which are referred to as the objects of the learned ones, such as the enumerations of the elements and so on. And so there are different forms of object listed, and both, which are relevant both for tranquil abiding meditation and special insight meditation.
Yeah, that is good. This today. The because sooner when I join in the check. This should the Xinjiang there got the check. That is should the 시소소사 텔은 난저바 신의 법을 두 번째 통월 지식 너희 때다 양진예배 달라서 송로 타다니 지신이를 쇼 지신이를 법 지신이를 법어 시 탐제 뒤뒤 들었으면 열셔고 자오스 넘버 찍도나 넘버 시즌지 최첨제 뒤를 주고 풍부로 쏘고 되다라 심 열셔고 자오 전에 단 되기 소로야나 주니는 왜 당동이에요 소로야나 주니는 왜 신내예요 다 소로야나 주니는 왜 신내 주다 가르슬람나 안다디 쇼데 디 소로야나 주니 디디 탐제 뒤디 수这个我们不切소로야나 주니 다 된디디 지신이를 쇼, 지신이를 봐봐, 지신이를 봐보, 전수 두에 주기. 아니 가서를 보게 두에 넘버로 봐로 샤네. 다 대강라 미주가这些도 줘요. 신내미 버리지. 다야 소노야나 주니 된 소소강라 봐.这的상당인데 상동미 버리지. 대신도 나바지로나 나바치즘지 최초지 되버리고 뉴제도지 풍부가를 되면서로 시스템적으로 기준이 되면서로 감정적으로 되면서로 되면 상담이 대탐적으로 되버리 sensu 두위주기 아니 dom로 되면서 대강으로 하는 샤나 신내기 미바 다들 봐 저기 지금이나 상동 미바 예송을
So then we read on page 113 of the English text, Kamalashila explains again the differences in which the object of meditation is used in the context of shamatha, tranquil abiding meditation, and the vipassana, especially insight meditation. And he writes, the yogis who are interested in actualizing a calmly abiding mind should initially concentrate closely on the fact that the 12 sets of scriptures, the sutras, the melodious praises, and so forth, can be summarized as all leading to suchness, that they will lead to suchness, and then they have led to suchness. So, so here Kamalashilas is explaining that one can cultivate tranquil abiding focused upon the 12 sets of scriptures, or one can also cultivate special insight focused upon the 12 sets of scriptures. The difference is that when you use the 12 sets of scriptures as an object of meditation in shamatha meditation, tranquil abiding, then you do so in a manner where you actually summarize all the contents of the teaching and simply place your mind on that summarized kind of form and without using any analysis. And when you engage in that way, you are engaging where you are taking the 12 sets of discourses as an object of meditation of shamatha, tranquil abiding. And when you take the 12 sets of scriptures and focus on individual characteristics of each of these scriptures, then you're already using analysis. And at that point, you are taking the scriptures, 12 sets of scriptures, as an object of vipassana meditation. So that's the difference. So then Kamalashila also writes that one way of doing this meditation is to see the mind closely on the mental and the physical aggregates as an object that includes all phenomena. So in other words, for example, one can take the categories of phenomena, such as the 5 aggregates, the 5 skandhas, the 12 elements, and so on. And if you take these and focus on them in their summarized form, then you are using these elements and the skandhas as an object of meditation on tranquil abiding. But if you focus then on individual characteristics of the members of the list, then you are using that as an object of meditation of special insight. So these are the two differences in which the same object may be used in these two different contexts of meditation.
Daya meetings the same shine. Same galia miga. Dann you chakshin kumya, so jadi some meeting chigari. Da some meeting yana, 동니 meeting shine. 수잔에 다 다른 공부처럼 study 공부신도 넣고지 다 땅을 봤네 다행이와 지심을 영해지기 다 다도네 공부처럼 살이 말이 제 가고 살이 다 공도는 다도 쳐서 땅은 능용을 안 줘요 땅이야 다에 거지에 정기체 아니야 신내야 즉 군수 미국식 신내 미국이잖니 신내지 소도지장 되는 비밀 즉 신내 내세 로로 그제부 슈슈르치면 되지. 야 그게 돈이도 잡아셔야 해. 파다 로차로. 다 도선들지. 그러다. 저들이 전에 검도는 따라쳐왔어. 저다 간다 양급을 다 지시로 꾸슬름이. 다 나 숨지 나라라. 다 신내 공부 미견이야. 자롱 틀리. 아니 얘기. 아니 롱. 진짜 메니 신내 줘야. 용도가. 자신 그대로 입에는 선을 신내 줘야. 진짜 입에. 다 안데 나바 찍도는 지도 통하다. 지도 되면서 이제 고속을 쓰면서 차대했어. 다디 말하자면 가서 다 미팅도 라가 인사 로를 찾대. 다 지금 미팅에 찍디 아주 내가 당보원이야. 운동 미팅이지. 난도 뭐보다 진중 됐냐 도스. 믹시 대비는 남도 충도 용도대하러. 이제 타네 한데 선배 짜 다과르시배 선배 영도하러 초대하러 걸 또 주뒤하러야 편도야 되지. 양도가.
So one can also choose one's own mind as the object of meditation on shamatha and vipassana. And this is in fact the principal approach found in the Mahamudra, Great Seal practices. Then similarly, one can take emptiness as the object of one's meditation on tranquil abiding. But this approach where one takes emptiness as the object of meditation on tranquil abiding will be appropriate only for an individual with tremendously high caliber of mind and advanced faculty, because that approach is known as seeking meditation by means of the view, or the basis of a view. And that approach is generally understood to be much more challenging and appropriate only for a few with advanced mental capacities. So generally, for most people, the approach is to develop some intellectual understanding of emptiness, and then at the same time also try to develop one's quality of single-pointedness of the mind by meditating upon doing the meditation on tranquil abiding. And so here one chooses more kind of easier object, kind of more convenient objects, and as the quality of one's single-pointedness deepens and progresses, advances, then one will then be able to apply that more developed form of single-pointedness to one's understanding of emptiness. In this way, attain emptiness, meditation, kind of tranquil abiding, or focused on emptiness, realization of emptiness through this way. And that approach is known as seeking the view by means of meditation. So that approach generally tend to be much more suited to most of us practitioners. And so in the highest Yoga Tantra, we also find tranquil abiding meditations, shamatha meditations, where one takes the energy channels as one's object, or the energies that flow within, or the drops, or even syllable letters as objects of one's meditation, and cultivate tranquil abiding based on that. But for many individual practitioners, choosing a more convenient object that is more visible and concrete can be beneficial. So, for example, in the text here, Shantideva suggests taking the image of the Buddha as an object of meditation on tranquil abiding. So we read, for example, on page 113, he says, another way is to place the mind on an image of the Buddha. So, so you can do that, and particularly for many, for the beginners, taking one's own breathing process, breath as the object of meditation on tranquil abiding is very helpful, because by simply focusing one's mind on the breathing, both the inhalation and exhalation as counting as one, and focusing upon that. And the advantage of this is that by simply drawing one's attention to one's breath has the effect of calming down all the kind of, otherwise kind of habitual scatteredness of the mind and distraction because of all sorts of, internal chatter that goes in one's head. So choosing breath can have a calming effect on reducing that kind of unsettledness and scattered mind.
That meeting 가르치네요. that meeting telling some your shanes, some the Javachade. She me will live on Zindam, when the Chingam, when the Shuri, the number of cherry, number of young some young tower chows. That me go meeting and me go shache, you understand? That condition quarters, not for a senior condition for a casual condition quarters, no. Migdinlia, some netting, Migdintilly, Shembe, Mikoshindala, some Matra, Maya chiche. That's some Migdinlia, some Henny, Deve, Deva the churchy, some deep Tangumi, you had a chicky. But the minimum of the answer of you, this good worry. Yeah, some meeting never consider something new, there was some ching, there was Chevy. 나야 미세와 목보사지 대야 침이 둘샤버다 자다 무시 침어서 전에 미팅 담아서 침어 차라 몽구도 연구도디 딱한다 지단체나 미팅 여체 미팅 말아체 배 낙토미 대대비 매매체 이네 미팅디 강나 미팅 비기 넘버디 유지 넘버로 거에 세워지 여체 이네 미지 로이 간에 통이 여행을 고마 직다서 침대로 녀들 차이전에 침어쓰기 하래. 저자마다 심 미고 다 미팅 전에 미고를 내배 그도를 발주증이 침어도 거봐. 실 초화 연구야 하래. 다 초화스는 지단에 다 센터된 게 되다. 거버스도 내자가 차도 지 당한지다 가서 그래 심. 대지 가나서를 다 지금 셈배. 현지 차고지 전혀 된들 선포 초대하러 거버스도와 저랑 어디서다 din이기다 바로 줘요 이거인데 din이는 녀부 된 거예요. din이는 녀부 그러시다 그러잖아. 심 칭워서야 돼. 심팡 마차. 심다 시부시. 헤저서 말 헤르 소식이 정어집니다. 들었음 팡 토로 딴 거예요. 심팡 토로 딴야 답시 돼. 심라 가난게야. 쫀나게나 심도 중도로 걸고 심 성부로 차인 거야. 나야 심 쳐야 돼. 심도 팡 터장. 통자의 경기, 앙사로 사태의 경기, 양심과 질려 통자의 경기야. So that dela some now dugu yare. Then some pang martangu yare. Some pang martoya de yanchi. 가서 미라고 보면 서로 지 동의 두면 보면 서로 지코야 코아지 두면 보면 서로 근데 제가 선냥 또 선팡 심 준비 서로 심 첨부팡 말 첨부 서로 제일 전에 심베 가서 우리 팡 터차네 지 중규를 하대야 되는 용도 되게 하래 대달 심팡 퇴매 소수 냠용도 되니 렘바 지기타네 다 증거가 있냐보다로 드리는 거래.
So we read in Kamalashilas text on page 116 of the English translation, he writes, in this way, place the mind on the object of your choice, and having done so, repeatedly and continuously place the mind. Having placed the mind in this way, examine it and monitor whether it is properly focused on the object, and also check for dullness and see whether the mind is being distracted to external objects. So this passage explains the actual quality of the mind that is being cultivated and what needs to be done in the actual session itself. So what is being sought is that in the cultivation of tranquil abiding, shamatha, one needs to ensure that the two primary qualities of the mind are present there. One is a focus, a sustained focus on the chosen object, so that when you engage in the meditation practice, there is no forgetfulness. So the chosen object of the meditation is sustained. So the attention is maintained on that, and there is also a settledness of that focus on that chosen object, so that one is not distracted and loses the object that one has chosen. And the second quality that is necessary is that not only settledness is important, but also subjectively on the part of the experience, there needs to be an alertness, so that it's not a kind of a low feeling, kind of a sunk state of mind, but there is a kind of a certain vibrancy and also kind of a alertness on the part of the subjective experience, a kind of a clarity, subjective clarity. So in order to ensure the presence of these two qualities, one needs to monitor whether or not the obstacles arises in one's mind. And although there are obstacles such as mental scattering, which is a more gross form of just totally being distracted, but there is also a subtler form of distraction, which is referred to as mental excitation. And mental excitation refers to an kind of some expression of an attachment, and generally it tends to focus on things that otherwise would normally give rise to attachment and clinging. So mental excitation, so one needs to ensure that mental excitation doesn't arise in one's mind. And similarly, even though there is no distraction present, and one may have retained the focus on the chosen object, but sometimes it so happens that the quality of that mind may be very lowly sunk, and there is no kind of vibrancy, there is no freshness and subjective clarity. So in that time, one has sunk into mental laxity. So the problem of mental laxity has arisen. So one needs to counter that, so that there is freshness and a subjective clarity on the part of the experience itself. So when these two principal obstacles arises, one needs to apply the appropriate antidotes. And the appropriate antidotes against the arising of mental excitation is to engage in some form of contemplation that would help reduce the state of mind to a more dampened state, because the reason why mental excitation arises is that your state of mind is too uplifted, and there is kind of a too much vigilance, or over-vigilance, excessive vigilance, so one needs to find a way of slightly dampening down that, so that the mind is brought to a more downcast state. And the way in which this can be done is to reflect upon impermanence and reflect upon the sufferings of the samsaric existence, or even more evident pain, sufferings, and so on. So in this way, and these kind of contemplations will immediately have the effect of slightly withdrawing the mind within and having this dampening effect. And similarly, the reason why mental laxity arises is because the state of mind is too downcast and too lowly sunk. So the counter measure to this is to try to find a way of uplifting that mind, bringing that mind to a more uplifted state. And the way to do this is to then contemplate upon certain facts that would instill in you a sense of joy, such as reflecting upon preciousness of human existence and so on. And contemplate upon facts which may bring in you a sense of joy, so that what was previously a more downcast state of mind is brought up to a slightly more uplifted state of mind. So it is in this way one needs to apply the appropriate antidotes against these two obstacles, and also primarily relating these to one's own personal experiences, one's own personal experience, and finding the right balance.
대달 건배 준비기니 친구기 때문에 매버진 선배게 산이 지미게 되가야 당시 싸워 말도 잡으러 내시 되도나 아니야 그래 가서 그래 친구기 년부 때는 경이 버리 다 친구기 년부 매점 봐 도시 땅요 사드 때네 다 도시는 고민들 아니 갈래야 제 유심 난게네 봐 전에 아니 신장 개야 지다 들어드는다 신장 대화 개네 어다 뒤다 대화 때문에 내가 차이는서네 아니 신장 가서 신장 때문에 내는서네 아니 신의 생이 조이
So as explained before, judging by your own personal experience, one needs to find the right balance to ensure that one's meditative state does not fall into either of the two faults of mental excitation or mental laxity, and try to cultivate a state of mind where one is able to maintain one's focus with a settledness on a chosen object of meditation, while retaining this qualitative alertness and subjective clarity, so once you are able to maintain that balanced state of mind, then in such states, then trying to exert an application of vigilance or mindfulness would be inappropriate. Therefore, once you have reached that kind of balanced state, then one needs to maintain equanimity instead of using exertion. So it is in this way one applies equanimity and abides in that state, and progressively this would lead to a kind of overcoming of natural inertia that is related to one's body and mind, and gradually leading to physical and mental suppleness or pliancy, which also give rise to an experience of bliss. And when that bliss derived from physical and mental suppleness or pliancy one is able to maintain that blissful state for a prolonged period of time, at that point one would have attained shamatha or tranquil abiding.
And the Congress 친구도 그런 매를 주지. 미국에서는 나도 주고 돈 대지 저 르르 당용수 자신. 대지 지신 되게 파동도 그렇죠. 대단 신의 공부를 제가 대류에서 신도 장고 되거든. 지도 내가시 미국에서 상황도 되고 대지 대신에 주고 이거를 보죠.
So then we read from the page 119 of the English text, when Kamalashila writes, in this process, distraction should be eliminated with a rope of mindfulness and alertness. Okay, and when you find that the mind is free of mental laxity and mental excitation, that is naturally abides on the object, you should relax your effort and maintain neutral as long as it continues thus. And then further we read on page 120, he writes, you should understand that calm abiding or tranquil abiding is actualized when you enjoy physical and mental pliancy through prolonged familiarity with the meditation, and the mind gains the power to engage the object as it chooses.
Oh, yeah. That's usual.
So now let us return to Shantidevas' text.
That's what bitch. What you say, na? That Luda semi remember ye, number one jungo, that's one shall take it, and the ye. To be never say, snake to be the net. That day was sungiare, and the never but temporary satissungiare. Then the watch which Chasheva, Sally, Tunjiva, that dinner, ye devaleta, Parkasure, Remberchair. Down the way you miss something. She learned Devada. She named Devada. Down up in a Chibun Devada. Desert Devade. Dava. Because of he. So Duyaji. That's another. These were Sumta.
So then we read in stanza 2 of Shantidevas chapter 8, which is on page 89. So we read, with bodily and mental solitude or seclusion, distractions do not arise. Therefore, upon renouncing the world, one should renounce discursive thoughts or conceptualization.
So, somebody Chakbechida, Nesola, 7 Chidem Mundi, Tevendida, Yongponga, Kevendida, Javachas.
So here, Shantideva is referring to the prerequisites that are necessary for cultivating a tranquil abiding, which we talked about, which was mentioned in Kamalashilas' text, these being seeking solitude, a physical environment that is solitary, and also solitude at the mental level in the form of absence of distractions. And then the second prerequisite that Kamalashila listed was that one should have kind of a modest desires and be easily contented. So here, Shantideva is referring to this when he says, thereupon, renouncing the world, one should renounce conceptualization, because here, for single-pointed for meditation on tranquil abiding, as a prerequisite, one needs to deal with excessive attachment. So the attachment may be towards one's own body, towards one's friends and relatives, or towards sexual experience and so on. So these, one needs to find a way of at least reducing attachment to these forms of desire, so that one's mind will be kind of less distracted. And then we read... Sorry, and then therefore in stanza 3 we read, on account of attachment and craving for gain and the like, one does not renounce the world. Thus, upon forsaking them, the wise should contemplate in this way. So then he explains how to counter excessive attachment to the objects of desire in the subsequent stanzas. So then we move to stanza 85.
Tezan de la Josete, Rambalan Kawaki, certain young T. Tomba, Shive Naki Nana dos, Diana, when begging their Sunni, didn't shoot the Shologu Tabje. Rawan Jersey Chamela, Kanda Yang, Demela, Choshi Deju Kain, Ombujan Tenika. Tell us over number you and the Samchene, Namdon Yor, she was the Chanjusun Combat.
So in stanza 85, we read, fearing sensual desires in this way, one should generate delight in solitude and in deserted woodlands, devoid of strife and annoyances. And then he goes on to explain actually the benefits of seeking solitude. And then we read in stanza 88, living as one wishes, homeless and not tied down by anyone, one savors the joy of contentment, which is difficult even for a king to find. And he says that after meditating on the advantages of solitude in this and other ways, having one's conceptualizations calmed, one should cultivate awakening mind.
Oh yeah, that is Shashan.
So we will stop here.
Niyandaya mi dona gombo jere ziwange seje gebe jengar kanji shi yozo njaje myola magan Deza ningne nyodo java zanando junye zambe dende na jozo doje doda dende Dende da jange dembe mena ngeme nyoro jo melama lobe gebe demba la gube na jozo jezo me de zamjo ngeme jugo malu jozo dembe zene jujo ji.
Good night. Thank you. 딩 아제디 데르다 뇽모병 아제디 매베체 소소소다 이지시야 네 톡그리 네 누그리 삼베다 뽑아 데르셔.
So we read in stanza 49, one should apply self-confidence to these three actions, secondary mental afflictions, and ability. I alone should do it, expresses self-confidence with regard to action. So this refers to cultivating a sense of pride, but this is not pride in the negative, afflicted sense of self-importance or conceitedness, but rather a pride in the sense of having a confidence in one's own ability that I can accomplish this, I can do this.
다음에 집을 자고시 니니 레디 마제니 전에다 시안을 떠가면 그런 가서 심지 학습 실전에 신 동네를 쳐야 돼. 대화도 대버쳐야 돼. 다른 거 차, 말한 거 차. 전 소수 정리기다 쿨라. 소수 찌규다. 간다버스나 라야다 지리.
So here in this stanza, Shantideva refers to the phrase, I alone should do it, expresses self-confidence with regard to action. So, for example, when we generate bodhicitta, the awakening mind, in the course of that, we also need to generate the altruistic resolve that takes upon oneself the responsibility to bring about others' welfare. So with that, that's the kind of sense of responsibility that Shantideva is talking about here.
되는 녀몽배가 제스다디 녀몽발라 남야 개가 지금에 녀몽발 랑게 왕도 두기 인사시 랑니 녀몽바 랑게 파로 왕도야 마도 랑니 녀몽배 왕도 남야 민주가 차세
So then Shantideva explains the need to uphold the sense of pride in relation to one's afflictions. The first one was in relation to one's action. The second one is in relation to one's afflictions. And here, the primary kind of attitude that one needs to cultivate is that unlike in the past, when I allowed myself to be under the power of the afflictions, to be governed by these afflictions,
뭐야? 다 그래서 다 제대로 이 심순이 제대로 믿은 쇼방데 매당 아게 가장 토로 훈련 원주 돕기니 준비 배신 배버차 다디 매베도 아게람 땜베도 가베도 토르도 전에 다 디디 되네 무시 전시 풀려봐 되네 좀제 원주도 없어 다 리슨 레군도 전에 는 걸스요
So from now on, I shall ensure that I will control the afflictions and I will govern and I will dictate the course of these afflictions and will not allow myself to be governed and dictated by these afflictions. So this is the kind of sense of pride one needs to cultivate in relation to the afflictions.
사실이 서로 무슨 거구지. 강신 나게 달리게서 나게죠. 되네 나게 전다 남들 빠지니. 강신 나게 자도 와야 대좀때 네좀다. 강신 나게 자도 와야 네좀때 돌듯이 개연되고 조시.
So, for example, we read in stanza 59, this is on page 85, by the way. We read, there are self-confident and victorious heroes who bear their self-confidence in order to conquer the enemy, pride. Upon killing that growing enemy, pride, they demonstrate the fruit of their victory to the world as they please.
다들 아주 디샴디 세우도가 주스탐지 너무 초기 트는 나버동도 센수도 원서도 생기시 너무 초기 미수자 냐마 치다 종교적 미미 송어도 디신 냐마 종교 너무 원도 민주차 아니 단 색도 색도 다른 거 고자장 라이 너무 군도 너무 배달한 되고 미쳐.
So then we read in stanza 60, for example, abiding amidst a multitude of afflictions, one should be vigorous in 1,000 ways and unconquerable by the hosts of afflictions, like a lion by a herd of deer. And then he writes, even in great troubles, the eye does not perceive flavor. Likewise, upon encountering difficulty, one should not be overcome by mental afflictions. And then in stanza 62, by the way, this particular stanza is missing in the English translation because it is from Sanskrit. So in the Tibetan text, we read another stanza which says that even if I were to be killed by being burned alive, or even if my head is severed off, at no times shall. From stanza 32, we read the explanation of the actual from stanza 32, we read Shantidevas' presentation of the actual application of the forces that are conducive for arising of joyous effort. So he writes, uprooting its opposite in this way, one should strive to increase one's joyous effort with powers of aspiration, self-confidence, delight, letting go, dedication, and determination. So, this presents the 6 powers here. The 4 are more specific to the actual cultivation. So these are the power of aspiration, the power of confidence or stability, and power of joy, and then the power of letting go or equanimity. And then the actual practice involved the application of the mindfulness and the faculty of mindfulness and introspective awareness. So this is called the power of actual dedication. So this refers to the application of the mindfulness and introspective awareness. And then the final power refers to the result that one attains as a result of applying these powers. And this refers to the power of mastery.
다? dima 다다 신지 네번이 시선에만 매배 돕기야지.
So from stanza 34, when we read, where we read there I do not see even a small fraction of a beginning of the elimination of faults and so on. Then the presentation of the cultivation of the power of aspiration is presented.
되네. 아? 때문에 똑섬. 맞게 똑 시다디. 다드네인다. 솔로고 시구네.
And then from stanza 49, Shantideva presents the stages for cultivating and applying the power of confidence or stability.
라도 녀몬 누버티 수부달 맞게자.